So as I prepared for today's podcast, I found it especially difficult to actually come up with something that compelled me. I like to speak on things that are beneficial to the people listening, number one, but I also like to speak on things that I feel especially compelled to talk about at the time, things that I'm implementing at the time, because one thing people do, and I feel like people feel, is that these pieces of advice aren't actually applicable and practical. But one of the biggest things that I want to convey is how it actually really helps me in my life. But as I woke up and I knew I had to record, I really found it hard. I was digging deep in my mind to see what am I going to talk about today that I felt not only could help people but could represent something I'm experiencing in my life. And I started to get worried. Oh, I'm already running out of ideas. I'm already running out of motivation to talk about things. Not motivation, but that vigor. And I'm only maybe 2 months in of making videos. And one thing I've been saying to myself recently that's been helping me a lot is every obstacle is a test. Every obstacle is a test. And funny enough, that's what we're going to talk about today. Welcome to the best podcast in the world, Nothing to the Grave, where we aim to help people live happy lives by becoming their best selves. Pain is unfulfilled potential. That's what pain is. We're helping people to find your true selves, to be their true selves, to find and unlock your full potential. And one of the ways that you can do that, and we're going to talk about today, is how to look at obstacles, how to switch our mindsets towards obstacles, adversity in life. One of the biggest causes of failure is being overcome by temporary defeat. Something that I'm trying to instill in my life lately, like I said briefly from that story, and how this video came about, is looking at the obstacles that I experience in my life as an opportunity to grow. Every single opportunity, every single obstacle we face is a test. I truly believe that. And if you want to be the best version of yourself, you have to look at these things, and you have to look at these instances in life as tests, as life throwing you tests to grow. Every single one is a test. And once that came into my mind, I knew that was what I was going to talk about. Like I said, one of the biggest reasons for failure is temporary defeat. And we're going to talk, I've written down the different aspects. We're going to talk about a few stories I have in my life of where I didn't have this mentality and times I did. And we're going to look at how I've started to tell myself these things and the practical ways that we can actually teach ourselves to instill this mindset in our lives. Here's a lovely quote. Before success comes in any man's life, he's sure to be met with temporary defeat and perhaps some failures. When defeat overtakes a man, the easiest and the most logical thing to do is quit. That's exactly what most people do. It's so funny because I'm going through a radical point in my life where I'm growing a lot, and I'm actually doing the things that I imagined myself doing, but I never did. I had a kind of deluded view and distorted view of myself. Now that I'm actually putting in the work, recording as much as I can, making music as much as I can, exercising as much as I can, I see now how hard it is and why so many people don't succeed. I've recorded maybe at this point, I think this is like my 10th podcast. Okay, maybe I've recorded like 20 videos in general, but one thing you notice once you, especially when you, I don't want to say especially because we all fall into we all experience our own obstacles, but one thing I've noticed from trying now is half of this is actually just fixing obstacles and overcoming obstacles. My phone gets full, I'm videoing, my phone stops halfway, I'm recording for 30 minutes and I realize my memory card is full. I have to record, but then something happens where I don't have the opportunity to record because obviously I need the space and the time in the house because I live with people. Like finding the time to record, there's so many, it's actually constant obstacles. Recording, as I probably edit this video, there's a high likelihood that there will be obstacles as I edit this video. As I upload it, there's probably going to be obstacles, but each one that I overcome, I learn, and then I'm stronger for the next one. Something I take great pride in, all of my friends, and I'd be interested if they hear this, what they would say to me. Something I feel very proud about is that out of everyone I know on a personal level, I failed the most. I failed the most. I feel like I failed the most out of all my friends, out of all the people I know that are in my life. And I take great pride in that because it shows that I've tried the most. When I started events, I succeeded, but I also lost money. There was a night where Ben will tell you about 20 people showed up. We lost around over $1,000, $2,000 in one night. We were like 15 with clothes, obstacles, failures, with management, successes, failures, obstacles. And that time I didn't know, and I didn't have the ability or the awareness to actually tell myself, okay, this is a test. I feel like there were some cases when I knew just inherently, but there were a lot of times when defeat would shower me. And I just didn't know how to look at it. I wasn't equipped with, trying to find opportunities. One of the reasons I love the gym is because there are so many parallels with the gym and life. It's actually one of my biggest, gym has actually revolutionized my life. And I'm not like a fitness person. This is not a fitness channel, but gym has revolutionized my life because there are so many, it mirrors life. In the gym, you do not get things do not get easier. You actually just get stronger as a person because your body is like, okay, you're lifting heavy weights, you're running more. You actually have to get stronger. And that's life. That's why I encourage people to do something physical that pushes yourself. Like, that's probably a podcast for another day, but the gym has actually changed my life. Obstacle is a test. You push through it and then you get stronger. You push through it and then you get stronger because it does not get easier. And life does not get easier. As I was thinking about this podcast, everybody has obstacles in life. My obstacles are obviously going to be different. I'm putting myself out there and so on, but not everyone has to do that. And this is not a podcast for exclusively artists or exclusively for people who are putting themselves out there. This is a podcast for people who are trying to be the best version of themselves. And in life in general, if you work in an office, if you work outside, whatever you're doing, everyone has obstacles. And the point of this is to make sure that you don't let your obstacles overcome you, defeat you. Literally, if you look at every obstacle and start looking at every obstacle as an opportunity to grow, your life changes and you will grow and grow and grow and grow and just become a better person. Success is stumbling from failure to failure with no loss of enthusiasm. I feel like that's one of my biggest strengths. Like I said, I feel like I failed the most out of everyone I know because I've tried the most. And I'm never going to stop trying, ever. Ever. And it's sweet to say these things. It's like people often disregard this kind of content because one, they actually don't want to change subconsciously. They want to make excuses for themselves. And it does sound sweet in theory, but in practice, it's harder. It's hard, but you need to be aware of it. I've written down here, there's a time when I used to be a moody person. And I was talking to someone recently, a very, let me not make it too specific, but I would say they're a negative person inherently. You're pessimistic, you're self-loathing. You're just that ideal kind of person that is in a shit situation, but they actually don't want to get out of it when you actually question them. You know? But that's a podcast for another day. But I was like, I actually never get too sad anymore. And they were like, what you mean you don't get too sad anymore? Everyone gets sad. Oh God, I hope they don't. To be honest, this is nothing to the grave. If you know who I'm talking about, change, I guess. Or you can tell me that I'm wrong. But they were like, everyone gets sad. And I was like, I don't really get sad anymore. And they were like, yes, you do. And the reason I don't get too beat up anymore, it's not because things don't happen. And not to say I don't get sad. I get in bad moods, trust me. But I don't let them consume me. I like to stay in my body. I like to be aware, okay, this too shall pass. This too shall pass. Sadness and pain actually come from resistance. That's where it comes from. We have to look at our obstacles. Okay, if you are sad, okay, what is this teaching me about myself? Why am I sad? Am I sad now because this situation is bringing up something that I neglected? And of course, there are a lot of caveats in this. You can be sad and you can be emotional and upset in different things, but a lot of the times, anger comes from pain that we create from frightened situations. But that's a bit of a sidetrack. 2 weeks ago, I was in bed. Well, not in bed, but I was pretty much out of order for the whole week because I burnt out. That was an obstacle. I'd worked, constantly working. I don't like wasting time, so I'm always busy. I like to fill my days, but it's also my biggest weakness because you need rest. Like up until that week, last week, I used to take so much pride in saying, oh, I work 14 hours a day and I'm constantly busy and I do this and do that. But now I'm like, that's actually not cool. What's cool is a balance. Balance is actually cool. Achieving balance is what's more admirable. And that was an obstacle. But it's funny because I also burnt out last year. And last year when I burnt out, I was burnt out for a longer period of time because I did not accept it. I started to fight the obstacle. It was an obstacle that life threw me. All of a sudden, my motivation had disappeared. My discipline had disappeared. My focus had disappeared. I was literally empty. I was a shell of who I was just a week ago. I started to question, is this it? Like, is it gone? But now I've learned that these things, and I spend so much time with myself, and I spend so much time observing my actions and my habits and obstacles and the opportunities they can present. Now, when I burnt out last week, I just was like, okay, I've obviously burnt out now. This is an obstacle. I wish I could work now. I had to take a week off, but that obstacle that was thrown to me is actually going to last with me forever now. Because now I know, okay, if I want to avoid burning out in the future, I have to actually impose times to take rest. I have to take time to rest. So that time I just did the things that I would actually not usually make the time for, the things that I would neglect as not being a priority. An obstacle now turned into an opportunity. And now the lessons I've learned from that obstacle, that wrench that was thrown in my gears, I now know something that will last with me forever now. Jesse, do you want to continue to burn out like you did that time? No, if you don't, then change and learn from it. And this is what I mean. So if you experience an obstacle and you overcome it, that means the next time that obstacle comes in your way, you then know how to overcome it. So these are all just anecdotes in my life and how I'm using and how I'm trying to be more aware of obstacles. It's like so funny. Like my mom sees me now and she sees the change I'm going through. And she's like, even before I did not have the patience to assemble like a wardrobe. Like my temperament is bad. One of the reasons I'm here try to show people and help people that you can change yourself to become a better person is not because I think I'm perfect. It's because I'm literally the most average person ever. I'm literally like bad temperament, did not do good in school, was fat, with anger issues. And I'm showing this because I don't want people to ever look at me being like, this guy is gifted. In everything I do, I don't know at what point you're going to see this video. I don't know at what point you're going to hear my music, but I'm never going to show people like I just popped out the womb or I popped out the closet. It's funny, the closet. But I just appeared like, okay, all of a sudden I'm in shape now. I'm physically fit now. All of a sudden I read books now. All of a sudden I'm starting this podcast. Yo, this is because I learned and I don't let obstacles drown me. Bro, people are going to look at me and be like, this dude has never stopped working. Everything that I've experienced now, failure, successes, they've all led to this moment and they've all led to the things I know now. Because all those things were obstacles and I've learned from them. Granted, there were times that I had so many obstacles and I didn't learn from them in the time. But I look at them now and I learn from them in hindsight. But I'm just like, imagine if I was more aware that this could be a blessing as I was in it. And it's super hard. I say these things and words are sweet, words are very soothing and words are very soft, but it's actually very hard in the moment. And that's why so many people don't do it. It's hard for me. Even as I was making this video, I couldn't find my memory card, and I had to just be patient. And that additional time gave me a bit more patience to look at some books, to find more quotes, and to find a bit more inspiration of what I wanted to convey to people. So it's just about being in your body and being present, and that's probably what's going to lead now. This is now the practical segment of this podcast. The awareness part. The awareness part, because one of the most powerful quotes, and I'm going to continue to use this as nothing to the grave proceeds, until you make the unconscious unconscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate. People, I don't really know how I seem in reality, but I think some people might think the way I am is like extra. I actually don't know, and it doesn't affect me either, but I feel like I might be like a very like overthinking person, or like too deep is probably the best way to summarize it. People might think I'm too deep, but that quote there is actually something that has an umbrella over my life. Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate. That's why I try to be as aware of everything in my life. Marcus Aurelius says it. There's nothing in your life not worthy of attention. Not just the external things, but your thoughts. Especially your thoughts. Your mind will take the character of your most frequent thoughts. I really want you to really let that marinate in your mind. Your mind will take the character of your most frequent thoughts. Now, funny enough, I just started saying every obstacle is a test. Every obstacle is a test. Every obstacle is a test. That, I wasn't born with that. I was not born with that. I started to repeat myself. I started to repeat that to myself, and now it's ingrained in my brain that when I encounter an obstacle, hopefully now that's an automatic response because of repetition. So that's something really practical. This isn't fairy dust and fairy tales. If you want your mind to stage, start repeating these things to yourself. This is very profound. Let me tell you something. I've realized how powerful the mind is, okay? I'm a very light sleeper, and I live beside trees, and birds, crows, and pigeons are so loud, and they really let me sleep. So much to the fact that when I see them on the street, they actually used to make me uncomfortable. Their sound, they're not pleasant. They don't sound pleasant. But one thing I did was like, okay, let me make a different association. Instead of making crows and pigeons be associated with discomfort, let me associate them with something I need to equip: patience. So do you know what I do now when I see a bird? The first thing now when I see a bird that I used to hate and despise and think about pain and discomfort, now I think patience. Because I can't change birds. I can't change them being there. So all I can do is change myself. And it's something that's recently new, but it's gone and now shown me the power of your mind. Every time I see a crow now, although I still don't love them, patience. I think patience. I think patience. Every time I see a bird now, I think patience. Now I think about patience every single day of my life. It's actually mind-blowing. It's actually mind-blowing. I genuinely think we all have superpowers. Our minds. Our minds are our superpowers. Every person in this world who has done a great thing first did it in their mind first. I like when people, sometimes I rarely tell people my plans anymore, and I rarely tell people, I rarely speak grandiosely anymore about my aspirations. But sometimes when I do tell people I'm actually working with and they don't fully get the fire, I'm like, I kind of like that, because most people sound crazy. And of course, if they got it fully, then maybe I need to question myself, because I'm trying to do things that a lot of people don't believe they can do. I wrote it in a song yesterday. Self-belief is too intimidating. It's too intimidating. And some people get overshadowed by that, or they get intimidated by that, or they get shrunken down by that. But that bird anecdote in my life is so profound. It's now come to show me how I can now apply that same practice to other things in my life. Now every time I go to explain myself, I'm like, wait, why am I explaining myself? I rarely explain myself anymore. In arguments, in disagreements, I'll only explain myself in a situation where the other person is willing to listen and we're trying to have a productive conversation. But if it's something like somebody sees me and you're like, oh, why are you doing that, man? Or like, why are you doing this? I'll actually just laugh because I've explained it to my mind, to myself. And every time I don't explain myself to somebody else, it actually just makes me more confident in myself. Now, every single time I go to explain myself, because that's one thing that we've been programmed to do and we need to program ourselves out of, is why do we actually explain ourselves? Half the time it's to look for approval from other people. It's to like ego. It's ego. It doesn't actually come from true confidence and true self-awareness. True self-awareness and confidence is quiet. It's not like brash. It doesn't overcompensate loudly. It's not trying to make itself look some type of way. Somebody said something to me today in a message, and I could have, I don't want to say destroy, but I'm going to say destroy. I could have destroyed them in my reply, in my response. But I just laughed and I was like, if they don't know, they don't know. I'll only have conversations with people who want to learn and who want to again, build. Which is why I'm having this conversation with people who are on this podcast, because hopefully you guys are here to learn and to improve. The mind is powerful. Awareness. This segment is about awareness. That's the point. One of the greatest things about the people who change this world is that you're in your minds. You're in your minds. They don't get too hysterical by failures or by successes. The best people. Don't look at Kanye being like, what about Kanye? Kanye is literally one in a billion person. That's an outlier. Look at commonalities from a huge test sample. And most people, they don't get too hysterical. Objectivity, be an objective person. I feel like it's one of my strengths. Rationality. Brianna Weiss talks about it in this book. This is one of the books that I used to prepare for this podcast today. Love it, and I'm almost finished. It's an absolutely astounding book. Don't listen to fear. The Alchemist, again, one of the books I used to prepare for this. When you're listening to fear, you're not listening to your heart. When you're listening to anger, you're not listening to your heart. You're not listening to your purest mind. That's the thing. And the bigger your aspirations are, the bigger your dreams are, the bigger your obstacles are going to be. Simple. That's why this endeavor is making me so strong. And there's so many things in my life. I'm an immigrant. I'm not great. I didn't do great academically. I was fat. All these things, all these obstacles that I'm trying to overcome and I'm overcoming, they're actually building me up stronger. They've made me a stronger person now to put myself out there. To do this. This was never my plan when I was 6 years old doing events. This was never my plan when I wanted to lose weight. It was never my plan when I was 20 kg heavier than I am now. I just wanted to not be fat anymore. I just wanted to be a slim person. That was an obstacle I have to face. But now, because I overcome that obstacle and I overcame that obstacle, now I have a story and hopefully experience that I can use to help people. You see how overcoming obstacles gives you more than you can even imagine. That's the beauty of life. When you actually face the dragon and you face your fears, life gives you more than you can imagine. It gives you more than you can imagine. I love The Alchemist. I love that book. It's one of my favorite books of the year. In that story, he's a shepherd, a small boy. He loses his sheep. He finds a girl he's in love. He loses her. He almost loses his life. But he keeps going. He persists. And at the end, he finds his treasure. The amount of obstacles he faced. I love Dyson. I don't know if you guys have heard about that example. The person who invented the vacuum cleaner. He tried over 5,000 times. Have you ever tried at something 5,000 times? 5,000 times, bro. Even up till now, that's giving me goosebumps. You fail 5,000 times. Like, we see these people now and we think, oh, they're lucky. Yo, imagine failing 5,000 times. Everyone around you is going to be like, bro, give up. Give up. We think these people, because they're rich now and successful now, it was sweet for them. No, everyone you look up to overcame obstacles. And I don't want to make this to be like only for people, again, who try to achieve something, but we all have our own obstacles in our life to face, whether it's personal, whether it's career-wise, whether it's internal. This guy tried 5,000 times. Yo. That's the point of nothing to the grave. If you want to take nothing to the grave, you cannot be overcome by temporary defeat. Because if you let temporary defeat win, that means you will not get to see the treasures you discover by overcoming temporary defeat. Like, so many people might see me. I'm curious. I actually am curious to know if people would say I failed or not. I don't think I've ever failed because I'm still here. You know, everything has taught me you only fail when you quit. You only fail when you stop. That's literally what I believe in life. And I think that's fact. I never want to say anything as fact because no one knows anything for sure. But I do think that you only lose when you quit. I've never read The Obstacle is the Way by Ryan Holiday, but the obstacle is the reason this podcast episode exists. On a macro and on a micro level, this actual episode is actually because I found it hard to come up with an idea. I had to break that dam. There was a dam and I had to break it. And now I have loads of ideas again. But an obstacle birthed this idea. And one thing is beautiful. I'm going to talk about intuition in a separate podcast. But when you create space in your brain and in your mind, you will see how the universe drops jewels. I literally was like, okay, what am I going to do? And immediately the idea came. I knew you have to create space, but I don't want to get too sidetracked. The obstacle is the path. The obstacle becomes the path. Never forget, within every obstacle is an opportunity to improve our condition 100 billion %. 100 billion %. And the thing is, there are going to be people who are receptive to this message, and there are going to be people who are adamant on finding holes. Those people, you can never convince them. You can never convince them, and this channel is not for them. So don't try to convince people. Don't try to convince people. Don't let yourself be contaminated by people who are broken. I'm still trying to figure out, like, if you should ever give up on people or not, but I don't believe in wasting time with people who don't want to change. I'm all for helping people who want to change, but if you don't want to change, look, that's not I don't know what I can do. So don't waste your time listening to people who don't want to change or are not able, or you feel are not able of change. It's okay to be discouraged. It's okay not to quit. To know you want to quit, but to plant your feet and keep itching closer until you take the impenetrable fortress you've decided to lay siege in your own life. That's persistence. That's persistence. Like, I'm gonna find the recordings I sent to my friend Adam Wheeler, who was my personal trainer and who has helped me on my fitness journey a huge amount. There were times I sent him voice recordings when I'd step on the weighing scale after weeks of eating diligently, and I'd be furious, be like, what's happening? And I respect his patience so much, and I appreciate his patience so much. But I was persistent though. There were times I wanted to quit, but that's about making the decision. If you really, really, really want something in life, quitting is not an option. If this is a relationship, if this is a goal in life, because you just have to be like, okay, I'm going to do this. There are going to be obstacles, and I'm going to have to rise to my obstacles. Like when I was losing weight, I did not know what was in front of me. And that's probably why I fell a lot of the times. The times I made the most significant strides in my physical progress was when I was like, all right, whatever I actually have to do, I'll do it. If I have to add 10 more minutes, if I have to start running for 20 more minutes, 30 more minutes, 40 more minutes a week, I'll do it. That's an obstacle. You have to overcome it. And that's just down to, have you asked yourself and evaluated how much you want something? A relationship, a friend, a lover, money, success, business, a promotion, a job, a result in your test. Obstacles. Now, to conclude, these quotes, like I said, they sound sweet. They sound sweet, but doing them in life is actually a lot more difficult. It's difficult, but it's beautiful once you do it. Next time you run into a problem, just say to you, this obstacle is a test. It may not you may seem even insane to yourself because you will not be able to see how it is a test, and you will not be able to see how it's an opportunity, but just be aware of it. Whether you can freak out in that time, but when you calm down, be like, okay, get your rational mind back. Make the unconscious conscious. Spend some time with your mind. This is what I mean now. Solitude. Spend some time with yourself. Calm. Collect your mind. Solitude is one of the most underrated things we can use in this life to actually become our better selves. And I'm going to do an episode on that as well. Spend some time with yourself so you actually find yourself. You find what you want in life. Read books. I'm always going to be a huge advocate for books. These books are the books that really helped me make this. These books and my journal as well, and my life and my progress. This is Meditations by Marcus Aurelius. This is The Alchemist by Paul I don't know his second name, sorry. Coelho. And this is Brianna Weiss, 101 Essays to Change the Way You Think. And obviously looking at my journal as well, looking at my life more than anything. Read books. This is not a channel that's going to be like fairy tales and dust. This is great. Anecdote here, analogy here. No, practical ways. This is real life stuff. I'm not going to just give you all these anecdotes and give you all the fairy tales and the good recipe without actually giving you the ingredients. Read books. Spend time with yourself. Solitude. Change your judgment. Begin to change your judgment. Like I said, crows used to haunt me, but now every time I think of a crow, I think of patience. And that's profound. That's profound to me. I actually wrote down a whole poem about crows and how much pain they cause my brain, or used to. Now when I see them, I smile. I'm like, oh, am I going to let my whole time be disturbed every time I see a crow? Now when I see one, I'm just like, okay, what do I need to be patient regarding in my life? Change your judgment. You are capable of more. This is my whole thing. I hate seeing people waste your potential. And I want to give people the tools required to change their lives and become the best version of themselves. Change your judgment. If your distress has external cause, it is not the thing that troubles you, but your own judgment of it. Oh, Mr. Marcus Aurelius. It is your own judgment. And now I think of patience every day. And I'm so glad that I've had that realization, because patience is something we all need. And I'm going to build, and I hope to build Nothing to the Grave to something that impacts a lot of people. I'm going to need buckets of patience. There's something you can learn from everything, even if it's just how to react better the next time you experience it. It may not be profound all the time. It could be little, but the small things are what makes big things. I believe in little numbers because every big number is made from a little number. Even if you experience an obstacle, the only lesson you can learn from that obstacle is how to react to that obstacle the next time you experience it. And that in itself is a win. Every obstacle is a test. It could be climbing a mountain, or it could be in line. Patience. Okay, this is now an opportunity to build my patience. My auntie, my beautiful auntie in New York, is one of the wisest people I know. Me and my cousin and her are driving, and traffic, it's New York. My cousin will be like, obviously people will be getting impatient. My auntie just wisely says, pass the test, pass the test, pass the test. It actually fills my body up with goosebumps. She's so wise. She would just say, pass the test, with a smile on her face. And she's one of the wisest people I know. What a surprise. What a surprise. She looks at even traffic as a test, as an opportunity to grow. And for a test, to succeed at a test, you need to learn more and you need to improve. Pass the test. Look at the obstacles you're experiencing in your life. Do you hate your job? Are you having relationship issues? Do you have an exam coming up? Are you trying to lose weight? Are you trying to gain weight? Are you trying to get more money? Are you trying to become a more patient person, a more aware person? Okay, don't be fearful by the fact that you have discomfort in your life. Look at that discomfort as a good thing. Look at it as you're being aware of instances in your life you want to fix, and look at them as an opportunity to grow, an opportunity to become either more decisive, an opportunity to become more outspoken for yourself, an opportunity to take control of your life if it's a job you hate. That's a crossroads. If you're in a job you hate and you feel unsettled, you are now at a crossroads. Either you make a decision to do something about it and overcome the obstacle of fear of the unknown, or you fall to it. Or you decide then that you're now going to become the person that feels uncomfortable, that feels your spirit banging inside your body, banging inside your mind, telling you no, but you're going to smother that voice. That's the choice you made. Or you can look at the opportunity. Okay, how can I make my job more enjoyable? How can I incorporate myself more in my job? How can I look at this as an opportunity to grow? So there are caveats. And this is why it takes you to be aware. And this is why solitude and finding yourself is pivotal. Every obstacle is a test. Every single one. Every single one. And this is not to say I'm perfect. This is not to say you'll pass everyone. Don't even think that. We're human beings at the end of the day, but it's tipping the scale towards more awareness. It's tipping the scale to more awareness. I love an analogy in Atomic Habits that James Clear uses. He says, there is somebody who's mining and he's banging a rock. He's banging a rock and he bangs the rock 99 times and the rock is unscathed. But that 100th time he bangs the rock splits open and gold appears. That's the obstacles in life. You have to continue. You have to continue. Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will dictate your life and you will call it fate. All these obstacles that you're fighting, that you're letting paint your life with sadness, they could be opportunities that could be holding glory for you, growth for you, lessons for you. And all it doesn't take you climbing Mount Everest. It doesn't take you going to Kilimanjaro. All it takes is a mindset shift. That's all it takes. A mindset shift and the will and the belief. I'm not here because I'm trying to sell nothing. I literally want this to impact the people who are closest to me, who want to change themselves. I have nothing to sell you, man. Them. I have nothing. I just want people to learn these things I help my life and I know can help people's life if they implement them in their own. Simple. Every obstacle is a test. Remember it the next time. The next time you get irritated, the next time you get impatient, it's a test. Thank you so much. The energy switch up. Multifaceted person. Thank you so much for watching this podcast. I love this. I love this episode, and it was something I was really compelled about, and I love how it was planted in my mind, and I really appreciate if you listened all the way. Thank you so much. My name is Jesse Ojuka, aka Jesse June, and this is Nothing to the Grave podcast. Subscribe to YouTube. Subscribe to our Instagram, bro. Follow us on Instagram. Follow us on Twitter. Subscribe to our YouTube, and thank you so much for listening. Please, I want the best for everybody. Pain is unfulfilled potential. Every obstacle is a test. I'm out.